Comment, bienvenue, welcome once again to another portfolio executive. Another, you say? Yes, yes. And no, incredible. We've made it this far without too many mishaps, except for that one. Don't mention that one. And today's topic is quite interesting. We have in the virtual studio Ben Sears of Technotherapy. Welcome,
Hi
Ben.
guys, nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's an intriguing time over which you're presiding, is it not, Ben? It's the movement of AI into the mainstream, but also dealing with organizations and firms which perhaps are more entrenched and resistant to the movement of modern technology than they might be otherwise. And your area of excellence tends to be providing, as you would do as a portfolio executive, support in the technology end, specifically as a transient CTO. Have I got that right?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I specialize in a number of different industries, but for the last 6 years, for better or worse, I've found myself working in the law, which is a fascinating industry in and of itself because they have been doing everything incredibly successfully, exactly the same way for the last 100 years. But they have to change. So I am presiding over that change now, which makes for a lot of interesting projects, conversations, and everything.
But I would assume, therefore, Ben, quite challenging.
Uh, yes, very challenging, and I think that's probably why I still work in the law. So it's not easy, and for whatever reason, I'm a sucker for punishment. So I'm
It's
still there.
hooked you in. It's hooked
It
you in,
has,
and you've stayed there.
Well,
yeah.
So,
I don't think it's necessarily the tech issues that are drawing you in, is it? It's human to human relationships, business
I
side of it.
I think that's what makes it particularly interesting. So I've worked in both, cutting edge software engineering and data science industries, and then I jumped straight into law, which was another world. And I've now possibly spent longer in the law than I had in those more cutting edge technology industries as well. So you're probably right. Yeah, the people do make it a far more interesting place.
So let me ask you the first one, and I know we already spoke a little bit about this in the green room. Most law firms, if you could cast your eye over the pantheon of law firms that are out there, ones that haven't really changed what they do over the last 100 years, to quote you, are they actually prepared for AI? Or they're just telling themselves they are?
Some will be more so now than 6 months ago. So the emergence of AI in its current guise is so well suited to being adopted in professional services
mm,
industries, right?
mhm.
Regardless of whether they are traditional Luddites or not, they've got to sit up and listen because the technology is so perfectly attuned to the things that need to be done there. So they're primed for it. And I think something happened, perhaps triggered by COVID and this sudden need to put everything into the cloud, use remote working. So that really accelerated and prepped the law for what has been to come. So I think the openness and willingness to engage with the technology is certainly there, but they're not typically mature in terms of understanding how you adopt change in technology into those industries. And that can be a problem because you can go out and buy anything. Doesn't mean it'll work. So,
No, it
yeah.
doesn't mean it work. And also in L&D, we're seeing people that are saying, I've been trialing and piloting this for a while, and we haven't seen the return on investment we were expecting. We're not going to put this out to the wider community. And you go, no, hang on a minute, you stuck it on the back of something that wasn't working in the first place, didn't you?
Yeah, you're just compounding the existing problem. I mean, in my world, which is a lot of work on LinkedIn, because that's where my focus is, um, there's actually a kind of backlash against AI right now. But it's not because of the AI, funnily enough, it's because of low effort prompting. And
AI slop, I think, is what we're terming it
Yeah,
as. Yeah.
we are
Okay,
slop.
stop,
Yeah,
Bruce. Look, anybody who gets triggered by the word slop, look away now. But
yeah.
yes, I call it jumping on the bandwagon. Uh,
A good phrase. I like that. Yeah.
Thank you. I do have it copyrighted. Now, the whole point is that if you do all the same bleeding things, and if all your posts, going back to my example, look the bleeding same, then you get to a point, a nexus, a tipping point, where from that point onwards, people assume it's rubbish.
Yeah.
And that's what goes back to what you said, Valerie. If you're just bolting on AI onto a piece of rubbish that was never working in the first place, if anything, it just exacerbates things. I mean, how long do law firms actually have before their current systems actually become obsolete? It's got to be measured in months, if not
Well,
decades.
that's a really fascinating point. Although you've made multiple fascinating points there. One is that the use of AI think, is in part being driven by, you see it particularly within private equity owned companies where someone will say investors want AI. So then you get the bolt-ons, right? Which is where it's stuck in places it shouldn't be. It doesn't add value. And it's relatively easy to add on, but for whatever reason, suddenly that means the valuation on your company goes up. But I think we will see a tide turn on that as there's an oversaturation of that. I'm already tired of software people pitching into law for software and technology
Yeah.
and forcing the word AI into every conversation. I'd rather that they didn't. It's almost now like saying, well, I'm selling you a car and it includes seatbelts. Like, I get it, right? Stop talking about it.
Yeah, but then I keep hearing people saying, "Yeah, we're about to start using AI." And what I actually find out is they're using a bit of HubSpot, or they're
Well,
doing a bit of automation.
the joke in law is generally, what's your AI strategy? Well, we've given 5 people Copilot licenses, right? So that is, I would say, for a large part of the market, or the industry, what it means. But in some ways, that's okay. I'm not rejecting that as an adoption strategy, because if it's taking people who are traditionally technophobic and quite manual and teaching them how to
Absolutely.
engage with prompt engineering, then
Yeah.
perfect, because when it comes, and it is coming, and it's far more involved, they're
Yeah.
going to be ready or more ready.
Copilot is a wonderful starter because of the security and all the guardrails in the background with Microsoft with Purview. So Copilot itself, it's a great product for them to begin with.
But
Absolutely.
isn't Copilot just ChatGPT with guardrails?
No.
Well, it's based
Mm,
on OpenAI's LLMs, but it has its own business abstraction layer that sits across it, which makes it far more applicable and useful for everyday business use. I personally don't use it for my technology projects because it's not suited to me, but for someone who's typically working on Microsoft documents or, a
correct.
traditional office environment, great, perfect. It's
Works
what
well.
you need it for.
Yeah, I'm
Think,
training it. It works well.
my CTO keeps pushing me towards using Claude, and I've been an OpenAI person since the get-go.
That's the one I'd be using. So,
But
um,
Claude
But
is
like
now in Microsoft. It's now in Copilot. There's a Claude button to enable.
a
They
Claude,
brought it in November.
we all need a Claude button, eh?
Hey, we do.
yeah. You made another point earlier, Gareth, about technology becoming obsolete within the industry, which was the other really interesting point. I think you're right, and I don't think the legal tech industry, let alone the law, has caught up to the fact that actually everything that is being sold, integrated, and actually millions of pounds spent in rolling out
Yeah.
is going to be what we're going to be using in a few years' time. So if we think about big finance systems, practice management systems, case management systems,
Yeah.
contact center technology, all of those things could, for the vast majority of it parts, be done by a very well designed LLM driven agent that's
Yeah.
been specified and dialed into that specific task. Now, there's still a lot of work to do to shape that, and there is obviously a place for this technology to be built out and applied to the law, and we're not there yet. But all good CTOs have an eye on the future, and that's, where does my data sit within these applications? Can I get it out? Does it sit in my own data warehouse? Can I switch off applications, move to other applications? And there's still going to be huge amounts of training, transformation, onboarding, all of those things
Yeah.
that go with this. The great thing is, so for those law firms that are not adopting the early technology that's coming out, maybe they're not going to be so far behind, because I think everything's moving so quickly that everybody's
Yeah.
going to be at zero.
I,
You know?
I've
Yeah,
got a
well, we
question.
saw that. We saw that in, Microsoft since September 23, the changes across all of the products in those 3 years, 2.5 years. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I would have thought that law firms would be scared pooless about, for instance, the Cloudflare incident, about the Amazon data warehousing incident. And this
Mhm.
must give people pause for thought.
It,
Your
it,
data is effectively spread across multiple data warehouses on multiple locations, any of which could suddenly pull the plug. And then if you throw onto that cybersecurity issues, my goodness.
yeah, one of my good friends is head of cybersecurity for a US law firm, and the money that's being invested over the pond in terms of cybersecurity in law compared to the UK is it's night and day. I think that is an area. Again, there'll be outliers. There'll be some law firms out there who are on it, but a lot of others less so. In part because they're not major targets at the moment, so they're hiding in plain sight. But as I've said to many people, if a big country comes knocking and they want to come in and get your data, they're getting it. So
Yeah.
we can prepare for that.
I read an article, not really talking about AI more than talking about law firms, but within it, somebody stated that they thought that law firms were about to have their, and I'm quoting here, their Kodak moment with AI. Do you
The
think that's true?
Kodak moment,
As
Yes.
in the death of the law.
or is in the death of Kodak? Yeah, okay, all right.
I think it will change in terms of, so a lot more people are seeking legal advice from, for better or worse, LLMs, right? But I do wonder if how many of those people were engaging lawyers in the first place. So I think on a surface level, it's letting people gain, let's call it access to justice, but it's not. It's some slightly informed but perhaps untrustworthy advice. But I think the law is still going to be relatively protected in the fact that it's built into a lot of legislation. So conveyancing is a great example of this. So buying and selling a house should be an automated process. The fact that it's not is because there are like, thousands of law firms that all do everything differently and don't speak to each other particularly well because it all requires legally a lawyer to oversee that work. Now, I think that should still be the case, but I think it should be completely and utterly automated with a lawyer oversight. That would
Yeah.
probably mean a significant reduction in the amount of people who are doing it, but probably also better margins because it's almost not worth doing. Now,
I could talk to this topic. I run 5 property podcasts during the
right?
week. I just did one earlier today called Property Matters, um, in which we were talking to a specialist at the back end who deals with integrating with the lawyers and also with the conveyances and making sure the data movement. The biggest issue isn't all of that, funny enough. The biggest issue is that not all of the data is digitized. It's all in different places. My goodness, some of it is still on scrolls. Scrolls, I
Yeah,
tell you. What are we,
yeah.
biblical here?
So I would love to see government legislation that comes out and mandates, like a government digital
Well,
services are brilliant.
there was one with land tax, and
Yeah,
only about 20% of it's done.
yeah.
Loads of it. So they said it was going to be done 3 years ago. Still not done. And so there's still a huge business. One of my best clients is the chairman of the, and shout out Hamish, the Association of Independent Personal Search Agents. And the only reason why they make coin is quite simply that they know all the different weird and wonderful places to look for data because it
Yeah.
isn't there. That's why it isn't automated. Are you in agreement with me, Ben, that the only time that stuff can properly be automated is when all of it is digitized in some place?
Well, yes. And again, this is part of the challenge or one of the areas that my own technology company has been focusing on, which is taking records. So in my case, medical records that are generally existent on scrawled bits of paper that might have been scanned in. And so fine, we had paperless projects 10 years ago, right? And everybody was like, let's get a tech award for going paperless.
Yeah.
And now there are
Yay!
terabytes of PDFs buried somewhere
Yeah.
with
Oh,
really valuable information, if
Yeah.
not in breach of GDPR rules, but certainly valuable information that can't be accessed. So you're
no,
right.
I
There
think
is
you're right in the first place. I think a lot of them are in breach of GDPR, but they
yeah.
don't even know it.
No, no, exactly. So, there's boxes of storage, lots of paper still. So I think we're still in that crossover where we're surfacing a lot of that data, a lot of really valuable data. So we haven't seen the potential yet. And a lot of businesses like law, or industries like law will not be particularly on top of their data. They'll be hanging on to legacy systems that have been customized to high heaven, which means the data is not clean or well structured, and
Yeah.
understanding it is in the heads of one person in a cupboard, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even being able to see which departments are generating what revenue, or to be able to make data-driven decisions, it's really difficult. So again, you slap some really fancy AI on top of that, and it's going to tell you that there's holes everywhere. That's the best
Yeah.
outcome you
Absolutely.
can hope for, maybe. So, yeah, there's some catching up to do. So I think some of the underlying projects will be sorting out your data. I'm running a lot of projects with my customers at the moment, which are implementing data warehouses, taking data sovereignty, ownership of it, structure of it, preparing for a future.
Right. Can I ask? Because I know that from like a tiny bit of research, you didn't really start in legal. That was never really your strong suit initially. When you first jumped across to it, did you immediately see gaping chasms that perhaps had been overlooked?
Yes and no. It depends on the law firm, right? So I've worked with a number of different law firms now, and
Mm.
every different type of law is wildly different. So when you've not worked in a law, you don't necessarily, you think, well, they're all lawyers. No, the difference between a corporate lawyer and an employment lawyer or a conveyancer, or a private client drafting wills lawyer, they're all wildly different and have gone into those different areas of laws for different reasons and have different attitudes towards technology. If you look at corporate law, heavily relationship based. So it's about who you've met and the notes you've made. And that's fine. Contracts, that's an
Yeah.
area of technology. But the rest of it, they don't use typical case management systems because it's all about their personal engagement. When a corporate lawyer leaves, they take all their clients with them, unless you're a magic circle and it's about the name. So they're wildly different to say, an employment lawyer who could work as part of a big team of people and build a big brand. So, yes, there are glaring gaps. And when I first went into it, I thought, this is great because I know all the answers to this, because all the other industries have done all of these things. But then I have realized over the years that it is far more nuanced than that. And if you are to be successful at a C-suite level, you have to take that into account and understand that each department, all under a same partnership potentially,
Mm.
could be in a wildly different part of their own journey. And you have to solve for that as well. So
And also, Ben, do you see, as I do in L&D, when I look at putting new systems in and working and training people, there's a lot of duplication where they go, "Oh, I didn't know you did that. I do that as well." So it's only when you sit
well,
them in the same room that you go, "Uh-huh.
everybody's special, so
Oh,
they all
yeah,
recognize that. Everybody does it
yeah."
their own special way, and obviously a lot of
You do
projects
sound like
go
my
with
mother when I was young and badly running foot races. Uh,
um,
We've all got their own special talents, Gareth. Go
yeah.
carry on.
A lot of the projects will start with a really good bit of analysis, which is to ultimately answer that question is, hang on a second, are we talking about six versions of the same thing here? And do we have an opportunity to unify our
Yeah.
processes? So, one of my clients at a law firm is really, really good at this. They recognize that the processes have been the same way for 30 years, and new technology is not just a chance of getting something new and shiny and efficient. It's to clean house, redesign everything, and recognize maybe there is one way of doing these things with a couple of branches off the sides for
Mm.
variations. But yeah, so there's a great opportunity there.
Would you say there's an increasing trend now as law firms and the lawyer sphere, as I like to call it, is starting to realize that they need to step on, and they're starting to hire people of your ilk, yes? CTOs for hire, etc., possibly transit, possibly not.
You've
And what
been
does that say about what's broken?
I don't know. That's a difficult question. I think traditionally it used to be that the IT guy was someone who started in the post room and then knows how to use a computer. And actually, that's how a lot of us got into technology, is that you just happen to be naturally quite good at it. And then someone asks you to do some work on this and that. And then suddenly you are the IT guy, right?
Mm.
But often those people were running, or the heads of, or the most senior technical people in companies. And I was invited into law recognizing the fact that maybe uh, it was one role that they might want to bring in from other industries. Yeah. So it's certainly being more and more recognized. Yes. I don't think fractional is particularly picked up yet. I'm not sure that they understand that too much because there is so much to do within one firm. Often you are in there. um,
Yeah, but I do think fractional generally across a lot of roles, and obviously portfolio executive is how we come together.
mm,
That's how we've met. I think the fractional world is changing, particularly in the current climate with so many, redundancy waves, etc. I think there are people that are saying, I need to diversify, I need to do something a little bit different, and fractional is a good route for them.
I think it's a really good route for people working in fractional. It's about driving that message across industries that there's real value in hiring fractional people. So
Correct.
I don't
Yeah.
think in quite insular or inward-facing industries such as law, it then necessarily was up to speed with all of the options out there with in terms of hiring people, because whilst they make a lot of money, they don't like spending a lot of money, and technology is going to be one of those things. And
Yeah.
suddenly being able to have someone come in who knows what they're doing, as a really high caliber individuals, but doesn't cost the earth,
Yep.
should be really appealing to some law firms, especially SME law firms who don't necessarily have a vast amount of money to bring to the table, but really want to stay up to speed. Because there's a lot of law firms closing. We lose about 1,000 a year in the UK, which is a stark amount, and a lot of that will be through consolidation of the market, big players buying people up, private equity buying up law firms because it's a really profitable industry, but also firms that have not adapted and adopted new technology.
It's
Oh,
obviously all moving at the moment. If someone listening today is in a traditional industry and feels that the ground is shifting under their feet
Mm.
on that shifting sand, can you just, I know this is a hard one, sorry, Ben. What's one move they should make right now to stay relevant?
Do you know what I tell my guys who work for me across these sorts of industries? I say, just close your eyes and hold on, enjoy the ride. So don't fight it, because there's nothing you can do to stop it, but be at the forefront and
I'm
get
going to quote you. I'm going to quote you later today because there
hold
was
on.
someone I spoke to the other day, and I said to him, "You can't be King Canute." See how effective he was at holding the water back?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, it's, a different way of playing that is just to
Mm.
accept that there is change there, but be at the forefront of it. I just say, what I do, because I'm in that change, right? So my role is changing massively, especially in the worlds that I previously operated in terms of software engineering. That industry is just being blown apart, or is about to be blown apart. And what I say to a lot of engineers who are operating in that space is just be first and be ready. And there's a huge arguments that happen online. It's much like you mentioned about with social media, LinkedIn, and the AI slop argument. The same is about AI driven software engineering, is that it's rubbish. It's not, and it's getting better. And one day it will be infinitely better than it currently is. So be first, be ready, and engage with it. Don't bury your head in the sand. And that's really difficult for some people, I recognize. But that is the single best thing that you can do. Play with all the toys as they come out, get interested, and you'll be first.
Will there be one day an AI that will do the fractional job that you do?
Ah, I mean, yes, there could be.
I'm
Have you
I'm
heard of
playing.
digital twins? Have you heard of that?
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, there you go. So there are CEOs already cloning themselves, aren't there? So that they can divide their time. So
Mhm.
yes, to some degree. But again, one of the things I've been explaining to software engineers is it's only as good as the person driving it, orchestrating it. You're not changing from doing nothing. It's
Yeah.
so hands-on and involved to produce something of quality out the other end. And you'll know this with engaging in social media. You can use it to craft beautiful things, but if you're lazy and you don't, what comes out the other side is rubbish. So, and it's the same with technology. So don't be lazy, use it to produce really, really great things. And that's really involved and requires a lot of time still. So I think there's roles there still for an awful lot of people, but what they'll be like and how they're changing, that's the interesting thing. But yeah, close your eyes and
The
hold on.
old adage of rubbish in, rubbish out still
Yeah.
holds true.
Still holds true. Absolutely.
And on that note of rubbish, I'd like to thank very much, of course, Ben Sears, Technotherapy. Forgive me for putting you through the ringer. You did say
Okay.
there were interesting questions, so I guess I'm doing my job right. And Valerie, thank you forever being my wing woman. And to you
My
watching,
pleasure.
thank you. Watch out, we've got plenty more to come. We have a whole morass of portfolio executive members who are going to be making an appearance here. I hope you enjoy it. Please do keep watching because there's plenty more to come. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and in these difficult times, look after your mental health. Bye bye.